In life, there are silent stories, powerful enough to touch the hearts of millions, and the tale of a stray dog by a storm drain is one of them. Amidst the bustling and noisy streets, a scruffy stray dog seemed unremarkable at first glance. Yet, day after day, it stopped at an old storm drain, its gaze thoughtful, as if guarding a profound secret. This peculiar behavior caught the attention of Emma, a compassionate young woman who decided to uncover the truth behind the dog's watchful eyes. Little did anyone know, beneath the cold metal of the drain lay something both intriguing and captivating, drawing the entire neighborhood's gaze. Emma was attached to a man named Heron Hawken, whose daily feats appeared in the stone monument. Emma made a favorite hideout. Amid the fast-pacing rhythm of New York City, no one could recall when the stray dog had first appeared or to whom it might have once belonged. Its matted fur, coated with dirt, bore the marks of a harsh life spent wandering without a home. The dog's emaciated frame, with ribs protruding beneath its thin fur, told a story of meager meals or even hunger. Its eyes, however, reflected a profound sadness, deep and unspoken, as if carrying a tale of loss and hardship. That day began like any other. The dog roamed the streets with soft steps, wagging its tail whenever someone glanced in its direction. Despite enduring a life of hardship on the streets, it exuded friendliness and joy, savoring the occasional pats and affectionate gestures from passers-by. It retraced familiar paths, past shops, strangers, and its tiny friends along the long streets. But today, something different occurred. A rich aroma suddenly caught the dog's attention. Though it had never ventured into the lavish stores nearby, the smell of sizzling roasted meat was irresistible. Following its nose, it approached a butcher shop, where customers were selecting fresh cuts for their evening meals. The dog stood outside, its eyes lighting up as it spotted the delicious meat through the glass. Just the sight made its stomach growl loudly, revealing the intensity of its hunger. Inside the shop, a young woman named Emma was paying for large cuts of beef for a hearty dinner. After completing her purchase, she thanked the butcher and turned to leave. But as she stepped outside, a peculiar sound caught her attention. A faint growl, followed by a soft sigh behind her. Turning around, Emma saw the stray dog standing there, its eyes filled with sadness and desperation. Its stomach growled again, louder this time, making Emma painfully aware of the animal's plight. For a moment, she froze, then realized the truth. This wasn't just a stray dog, but a starving creature enduring immense suffering. With a mix of concern and kindness, Emma observed its frail frame and sensed the relentless hunger it had faced while scavenging these streets daily. Now it seemed as though it could endure no more. Emma's heart ached as she gazed at the dog. She couldn't simply walk away. Taking a moment to think, she glanced at the meat she had just purchased and made a decision. Returning to the shop, she asked the butcher if he had any leftover bones or scraps of meat that couldn't be sold. Noticing her compassionate glance toward the stray, the butcher smiled warmly and handed her a large bone along with some meat trimmings. He even wished her good day, moved by her kindness. Emma held the bone in her hand as she stepped out of the store, her eyes scanning the surroundings for the stray dog. It didn't take long for her to spot the animal, standing a short distance away, watching her with a cautious gaze. She crouched down, lifted the bone slightly, and gently called out to the dog, her voice warm and encouraging. "Come here, little one. Don't worry. I won't hurt you." At first, the dog remained still, its eyes fixed on her as if struggling to trust this unexpected kindness. It inched a little closer but kept a safe distance, seemingly torn between curiosity and fear. Lowering its head, the dog sniffed the air toward the bone, but didn't dare approach fully. The savory smell was undeniably tempting, but its hesitation held it back. Emma didn't rush. She slowly sat down on the ground, hoping to make the dog feel more at ease. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," she murmured softly, her eyes radiating patience and compassion. She locked eyes with the dog, as if trying to convey the safety and love she was offering. The dog finally stepped closer and cautiously took the bone from Emma's outstretched hand. As it began to chew, its movements were deliberate and savoring, each bite revealing its long-held hunger. Watching the dog eat, Emma felt a wave of relief and satisfaction, glad that it was no longer starving, at least for the moment. However, just as the dog was nearing the end of the bone, something strange happened. It suddenly stopped, its eyes shifting from contentment to restlessness. Without warning, it dropped the bone, stood up, and started walking toward a nearby alley, heading straight for an old rusty storm drain. Emma watched in confusion as the dog trotted away, leaving behind the bone it had seemed so desperate for moments earlier. Her brow furrowed as she tried to make sense of it. Why would the dog abandon its meal? Where was it going? She thought about following, but her phone buzzed in her pocket, interrupting her thoughts. A glance at the screen revealed an urgent call from work. Something pressing needed her immediate attention. With a heavy sigh, Emma turned her gaze back toward the drain where the dog had disappeared. The unanswered questions gnawed at her, yet she had no choice but to turn away. Walking briskly toward her car, she couldn't shake the feeling that the dog had been trying to show her something important. Why had it acted so strangely? What was hidden beneath the storm drain? Even as she hurried to her car, these thoughts lingered, tugging at her heart and sparking a sense of unresolved curiosity. In the days prior, the stray dog's peculiar behavior near the drain had puzzled many of the locals. To them, it was just a grimy, scruffy stray loitering aimlessly. No one thought much of its repetitive visits to the drain. Some grew annoyed, assuming it was a nuisance and began driving it away, sometimes cruelly, throwing stones to scare it off. What they didn't see was the depth of loyalty and affection hidden beneath the dog's unkempt exterior. Each time she witnessed such mistreatment, Emma felt a pang of sorrow. She couldn't understand why people were so quick to judge and so slow to show compassion. The dog wasn't harming anyone, it was simply searching for something. Each thrown stone felt like a blow to her own heart, as though she could feel the pain inflicted on the defenseless animal. Motivated by both empathy and frustration, Emma became determined to uncover the mystery behind the dog's behavior. She couldn't stand the thought of it being misunderstood and mistreated any longer. Deep within, she felt a connection to this resilient creature and promised herself that she wouldn't give up on it, no matter how long it took. It was in those moments that Emma realized some encounters in life are far from random. Sometimes a heart willing to listen is the key to unlocking stories left untold. 2 days later, on a gloomy Sunday evening, Emma returned to the butcher's shop where she had first encountered the stray dog. As she stepped through the door, she immediately spotted the familiar figure of the animal near the window, its eyes fixed intently on her. Recognizing Emma, the dog lit up with joy, its front paws seemingly clasped together in a pleading gesture, its face brimming with hope. Overcome with compassion, Emma quickly entered the shop and bought 2 steaming sausages for the stray. When she handed the sausages to the dog, it once again ate only one, carefully picking up the second and quietly trotting back toward a manhole cover. Emma watched the stray with a puzzled look, but this time, she decided not to let her curiosity go unanswered. Today, she had the time to uncover the story this animal seemed to be trying to tell. Despite the chilly and ominous weather threatening heavy rain, Emma chose to follow the dog, maintaining a slight distance so as not to startle it. Along the bustling streets, she marveled at how familiar the stray seemed with its surroundings. Eventually, they stopped at a crowded road. The dog approached a familiar storm drain, sat beside it, and stared intently into the opening. Not long after, the dog carefully dropped the remaining sausage into the drain before returning to finish its own share. This act deepened Emma's confusion. She sat down nearby, observing everything closely. There was undoubtedly something special about this dog and its connection to the manhole. The dog seemed to have a clear purpose in returning to this place, and Emma knew she was close to discovering the secret it guarded. Under the dim evening light, Emma leaned down to peer into the drain. What she saw made her heart clench. Beneath the cover was a dark space, just bright enough for Emma to make out tiny, fragile creatures huddled together. They were kittens, a litter of 5, too weak to help themselves, entirely dependent on outside aid. Emma couldn't stand idly by. She quickly took out her phone and called the fire department, urging them to come immediately. Her heart raced, struggling to comprehend how this stray dog had known about the kitten's existence and gone to such lengths to ensure they wouldn't starve. She felt both grateful and curious about the mysterious bond between the dog and these kittens. Just as Emma was making the call, the sky unleashed a torrential downpour. Heavy raindrops fell, soaking the ground, and water began rising rapidly in the drain, carrying debris and creating powerful currents. Alarmed, Emma saw the water level threatening the kittens' lives. But more astonishing was the dog's reaction. It immediately rushed to the manhole cover, its eyes filled with urgency. In a desperate frenzy, the dog tried to pry open the cover, hoping to save the trapped kittens. With its frail strength, it scratched, bit, and clawed at the edges of the heavy metal lid. The sharp sound of claws scraping against steel echoed painfully, but the cover was too heavy to budge. The dog barked incessantly, a sound filled with tension, desperation, and a plea for help. Its emaciated body trembled under the relentless rain, but it refused to give up. The dog's barks pierced the night, carrying not just sound but emotion, the anguished cry of a small creature fighting against overwhelming odds, its entire body strained, muscles taut as it struggled to open the cover. Meanwhile, the water surged higher, and with each passing second, the kitten's chances of survival dwindled. The dog had no other recourse but to keep trying, clinging to a hope that saving those tiny lives would bring it peace. The scene tore at Emma's heart. She couldn't bear to watch the dog struggle alone against life and death. These moments felt endless, and amidst the pouring rain, a single question echoed in her mind. Could the dog rescue the kittens before it was too late? Though Emma had called the fire department earlier, their delay made the situation increasingly dire. The water in the drain continued to rise swiftly, and the kittens remained trapped below. Determined not to wait any longer, Emma decided to assist the dog herself. She rushed to its side, and together they worked tirelessly to lift the manhole cover. However, their actions drew disapproval from passers-by. Some people nearby began to protest, claiming Emma and the dog were causing unnecessary trouble, blocking traffic, or disrupting others. An older man spoke up. "Stop that! You're just creating problems. Calling the fire department is enough. Don't make things worse." Despite the pointing fingers and critical remarks, Emma couldn't bring herself to abandon the kittens, or the determined Stray. She glanced at the dog, its eyes shining with unyielding resolve. "We have to do this," she said, ignoring the objections. The dog, still tirelessly clawing at the manhole cover, occasionally turned to Emma with a pleading look. Surrounded by skepticism and reproach, Emma refused to back down. She continued working alongside the dog, undeterred by the disapproving stares. Her anxiety grew with each passing second. If they didn't act now, the kittens might not survive the storm. Together, they persevered, trying to open the cover despite the confusion and opposition from onlookers. Just a little more, Emma thought. A little more, and everything could change. She couldn't stop, because the dog hadn't given up, and neither could she. After what felt like an eternity, they managed to pry the cover open, and all 5 kittens were rescued. However, one kitten was extremely weak, barely clinging to life. The rescue team immediately began administering first aid on site, their actions watched anxiously by everyone present, especially the stray dog. It whimpered and paced, its eyes glued to the frail kitten. The crowd fell silent, holding their breath, until finally, after tense moments, the tiny kitten blinked and took a faint breath. A wave of relief swept over everyone, and the stray wagged its tail jubilantly. Feeling overjoyed at having saved the kittens, Emma and the stray dog exchanged a glance, their bond growing stronger with each shared moment of triumph and connection. The entire rescue mission, where the 5 kittens were saved from the storm drain, had been witnessed and recorded by several bystanders. The scene of the strayed dog risking its life to protect the vulnerable creatures quickly garnered attention and was widely shared on social media platforms. In one of the videos, a local resident recognized the dog and recounted its story to the gathered crowd. This dog was abandoned by its previous family. Despite that, it holds no resentment and has kept its kind heart. In fact, it often helps animals weaker than themselves, even though they struggle daily to survive with very little. The residents' words moved everyone even more as they watched the dog, realizing it wasn't just a stray animal, but a symbol of loyalty, sacrifice, and immense compassion. The community couldn't help but admire the heroic act of this dog, a creature once discarded, yet capable of boundless kindness toward the defenseless. The video spread rapidly, touching countless hearts and earning widespread admiration for the dog. Its story of loyalty and selflessness became a powerful message about compassion for animals, inspiring many to reflect on how we treat vulnerable and needy creatures. News of the brave dog and the kittens soon spread across the neighborhood and beyond, drawing attention from the wider community. Locals, deeply touched by the dog's heroic actions, came together to offer their help. They brought food, supplies, and small gifts for the dog and the rescued kittens. Witnessing the outpouring of love and care from the community, the spirit of kindness grew even stronger. The story took an even more heartwarming turn when some neighbors decided they could no longer let the dog and kittens live on the streets. Families stepped forward to adopt them. One family, inspired by the dog's bravery and loyalty, decided to give it a permanent home. The dog, which had not only saved the kittens, but also won their hearts, was finally given the love and respect it deserved. Meanwhile, the remaining kittens were quickly adopted by other animal lovers in the area. Each kitten found a loving family where they were cherished and cared for as members of their new households. The love for animals spread throughout the community, and the kittens found warm and happy homes. As for Emma, after everything that had happened, she decided to keep the dog and one of the smallest kittens from the litter. She felt that the dog had become an irreplaceable part of her life and had also grown fond of the tiny, adorable kitten. The friendship between the dog, now named Milo, and the kitten became a symbol of love and care between creatures, whether stray or sheltered, all deserving of kindness and compassion. Every day, Emma and her two four-legged companions lived happily together, no longer worrying about the hardships of street life. They were a family, bound not just by love, but by resilience, kindness, and unwavering loyalty.